Hi everyone. Welcome again to the Carbon Reduction Challenge program for summer 2020. So now that you're officially in the program, we just want to make sure, touch base, and to answer some of the questions that we've received. So let me go to the presentation here and share with you some of the questions that have come in and real quick answers about them. So the first question we got, my internship starts in the next couple of weeks. Can I still participate in the Carbon Reduction Challenge? Yes, absolutely. We recognize that everybody starts at a different time. We just ask that at this time you do watch the orientation video and do the quiz. That will confirm for us that you want to be in the program. And read the weekly emails and be ready as soon as you start to get permission from your supervisor. So we're flexible. Just let us know about it at carbonreduction@gatech.edu. Second question, who qualifies as my supervisor? Basically, the person you report to directly in your internship or co-op is your supervisor. We want to make sure that they're aware and supportive that you will be participating in the Carbon Reduction Challenge, in addition to your regular internship or co-op responsibilities. As the project evolves, somebody else might become your primary contact person, but you should first start with your supervisor. Next question, where will we get the pre-survey? Do we have to build it ourselves? No, we're making this easy and consistent across everyone. We have built a template for a pre-survey, and you will be getting that today, June 8th. If you want to do any customization, then you can get in touch with us at carbonreduction@gatech.edu, but it should be good to go without any modifications. So here's an interesting question. My team is distributed across offices in different locations. In fact, the person who asked this question, I believe these were offices in different countries. So in that case, what should you do? Well, this is a good question. Wherever your team is, we do recommend sending out the same pre-survey to all those locations. And we have a zip code field in the survey so that you can keep track of where the responses are coming from. Then when you see if there's any similarities or differences between the various locations, at that point you can decide how to dig in and what your project scope would be. But at this point, just, yes, do distribute it to all locations. So some of you might be wondering about this last question. Well, how do I get my teammates interested in sustainability, even if their work is not directly related to sustainability? Well, we found that most employees in companies, when there's an intern that's enthusiastic about taking on a project and making a difference, they're supportive. But you can do a bit more. You can make it personal and local for them. For example, a lot of people probably have saved a lot of gas money not commuting to work, and that also helps our local air quality. So you can start with things that are personal and local to have a discussion with them, and also you can just focus on this all being positive, a positive message that people can have an impact, that when small impacts across many people in an organization are combined, that it does translate to big positive impacts, and that it often translates to cost reductions and co-benefits. And you can also talk about how that is what you'll be trying to catalog over the project. All right, will the office hours interfere with my work time? As you'll have seen in the emails, we recommend that you come into office hours. These are already scheduled in terms of which weeks they're going to happen in. So in this week's announcements, we sent out a survey to find out the days and times that work best for most participants. We'll use this information to set up a couple of sessions throughout the week to talk with me and Professor Cobb. And if none of these work with your schedule, please do email us to set up another time. there will be some lunchtime office hours, and that should work for everyone. All right, looking ahead, how will we do our final presentation? We're planning for a virtual presentation where you'll be recording short videos, speaking over slides about your project. We're still finalizing that final format, and we'll definitely let you know in advance of the final weeks of the project what that will look like. Where can we get more resources related to sustainability? Well, the web is a great resource, but we'll be sending out specific resources through our weekly emails and posting them on our website as well. How do we compare the cost of COVID-19 on businesses and benefits that they have received via reductions in emissions? Well, if you go back to my video about making the business case, you'll remember that there's two categories that I talked about that go to the bottom line. One is short-term financial benefits, which we'll be quantifying through ROI and PV payback period. And then the other is all the different types of co-benefits that might relate to, employee productivity, employee engagement, improved air quality, all sorts of things like that. So what'll be important to do is quantify that. How we're helping you do that is starting with the pre-survey, because what we're expecting is that some behaviors will have changed, specifically having to do with commuting and travel, and those will translate into immediate reductions in not only in carbon emissions but also in cost, and will have some co-benefits. So that's a good place to start. Well, I guess I partially answered this next question, but besides cost, what other incentives do companies have to be more sustainable? As I mentioned just a little earlier, you have a number of co-benefits that are good for people and the environments that they work in. These are called co-benefits. So working from home means fewer cars on the road, which means fewer emissions, which leads to better air quality, and this has health impacts, specifically in terms of reduced asthma and reduced childhood asthma in particular. Working from home may also have co-benefits such as saving time on commute, which we hopefully translate into exercising or spending time with family, or perhaps improving productivity, co-benefit as well. Last question, what can small or mid-sized companies in the software industry do to reduce their carbon footprint? So let me answer this in two parts. First, just generally small and mid-sized companies, and then secondly, adding the software lens to that. So for any company, you want to think about carbon emissions as taking place in three buckets. The first bucket, which is called Scope 1, are emissions coming directly from the operations of the company. So for example, if the company has a fleet of trucks for delivery, the emissions that are coming from those trucks are what we call Scope 1. And they are directly controlled by the company. The second bucket, called Scope 2, are indirect emissions from the electricity used by the company. So what you need to know is wherever the office is located, what is the energy mix in that state? And therefore, reducing 1 kilowatt hour of electricity used by the company, how much carbon emission reduction is that going to translate? And then any project that reduces electricity consumption, or more generally energy consumption, is going to be this kind of Scope 2 project. And then the third bucket, which we call Scope 3 emissions, are indirect emissions associated with a company's operations or products that come from such areas as employee travel, the emissions that come from the products that they sell. So if you're selling cars, well, the lifetime emissions of the car you sell is a Scope 3 emission. Or emissions associated with products or services that you purchase as a company. So if you're purchasing any kind of product, then what is its life cycle carbon emission in production, in transportation, before it comes to you? Right? So those are the three buckets. For small and mid-sized companies, the main areas are most likely going to be Scope 2 and Scope 3 emissions. So in the pre-survey, what we've done is help you understand what happens with employee travel and commute. That's a Scope 3 emission. And also, we have some questions related to whether anything changed in the firm's business model or in the products that they sell more. Those will likely be Scope 3 type of emissions. Okay, now coming to the software industry aspect, the software industry has an interesting role to play because intelligence software has a pervasive role in tracking and managing emissions at all these three scopes. So if you're in the software industry, definitely look at it like a small and mid-sized company problem that I just talked about, but also you can look at whether there's anything in the software that is provided by the company that has the opportunity to allow its customers to reduce its carbon emissions. Okay, well, I hope that this short Q&A has been helpful. Please do continue sending your questions. We will do a Q&A every week like this. And I also look forward to seeing you in office hours this week. Thank you.